to WNHH-FM's Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make New Haven tick. Well, one person who makes New Haven tick, a return guest on this program, is Jorgieliz Casanova. And she is now living a dual role that a lot of people in New Haven are in the COVID-19 pandemic. And you're going to see that she has a little more insight into this than your average person. Jorgieliz, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming in on Zoom. So Jorgieliz went Metropolitan Business Academy, graduated magna cum laude at Albertus, and then went back to work where she works today at New Haven Promise, that great organization that gets so many people like Jorgieliz scholarships so they can attend college. And a lot of them, like Jorgieliz, are the first in their family to go to college. She's come back now to work for the organization to help other people get the scholarships, known as scholars, navigate their way. Jorgieliz is also the mother of 5-year-old Noel. Mm-hmm. And I take it Noel usually goes to kindergarten?
He's in pre-K 4.
And where's that?
He should be going into kindergarten for the upcoming school year. But, we received notice that we'll hear a bit later than anticipated regarding the school that he'll be attending in the fall.
And what school does he go to now for pre-K?
He currently goes to Hill Central.
Uh-huh. And so now, like a lot of other parents, you find yourself with 2 jobs at once. Now, of course, you always have the job of raising Noel. But when we don't have a pandemic, Noel goes to Hill Central.
Yeah.
And you go to your job at Promise.
Yes.
Now you have to make sure he's learning all day. How's that going?
It is quite, a learning experience. I think one of the things for me is I aspire to be a bilingual educator. So
I remember that. Yeah.
And thank you to my work at New Haven Promise, I've had the opportunity to understand how to teach students and navigate it. But it's definitely been new. It's unusual. It's balancing it all.
Right. So how do you balance it?
So I wake up exactly as I would any other day. And I always start with an activity. Well, I make breakfast in the morning now, instead of the school.
What do you mean now? He used to have breakfast at school?
Yes. So we had a very tight schedule.
Like what time? What time's that schedule?
So I would wake up about 6 a.m. To get him ready. I live in a household that has it's a large family. So I would get ready. My brother, my mother are getting ready for work. My sister is getting my niece ready. And so it's like a rotation so that everybody can get through the bathroom and get ready. And then Noel's school is about 2 blocks down. So I would take him to school, drop him off, we'll have breakfast there, and then I would head straight to work.
What time would you take him?
His school entry time is 8:30 in the morning.
So you had to get up at 6 to take him at 8:30?
Yes, it's a lot of preparation. I have to make sure that I'm not stepping on anybody else's toes. My mom goes to work at 7 and my brother goes to work by 7:30. So I have to make sure that I'm not in their way and making them late as well. And then my sister drops off my niece and she'll pick me up on the corner while I'm walking, and then she'll drop me off at work so that I don't get there late.
But you have it coordinated. You folks are like the IBM or the military or something. You guys got it down.
You can imagine how much it has changed since then. We're not shuffling as much, but my mom is an essential worker, so she still goes to work, and my sister's an essential worker, and I'm going to work. So now it's like in the morning, wake up and make breakfast, make sure that they're settled in, give him.
Do you make breakfast for everyone, Jorgieliz, not just for Noel?
I make breakfast for the kids.
How many kids?
Well, it's my niece and Noel, and then by that time my sister, my mom, and I are all up. So if my mom's not making the oatmeal, I'm like trying to get Noel's. He has this homework folder that I print trace outs for him so that he can still be working on his letters, his shapes, his colors, all these kind of things. You can imagine it. I like had to make sure that I had glue, scissors, all kinds of colors to make sure that whatever plan I had for that day would work. And I wouldn't be short any supplies, which is interesting because teachers are like, I need to buy supplies for the kids. And now I'm like, oh, I need to buy supplies for my kid. Like, and so he'll start off with like tracing a homework, um, whatever letter of the alphabet it is that day, he'll do the uppercase and the lowercase. And we've been rotating through the alphabet in the mornings, and then he'll do a dance that's probably um unfamiliar, but he does have like a plan that the teacher gave me. And so I try to pull up something from the links that she provided to kick him off. And then from there on, there's about two or three other songs. And then it's snack time.
So now we're talking about the morning, right?
hmm
So you're home. You're home in the
Right.
mornings.
Generally, yeah. This week I am not home because my son's father decided that he would be able to take him this week so that I can go into the office and just concentrate. It's hard when you hear the kids downstairs and you're on a call with a promised scholar and you're trying to
Of
help them
course.
navigate.
I can imagine. And
Yeah.
we're going to get back to that. I'm just going to remind people that you're listening to Dateline New Haven, WNHH 103.5 FM, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. Jorgieliz Casanova, promised scholar turned promised staffer, also mom of 5-year-old Noelle, talking about how she's making it happen, how she's balancing her responsibilities in
hmm
the age of COVID-19. So, George, just to recap, most days, not this week,
hmm
but most days you're home
Yeah.
and you're getting him ready and set up. So it sounds like, tell me if I'm right, his preschool teacher is not sending stuff to you on the internet. She gave you a packet of things with links. Is that correct?
It's we're using this app called Class Dojo. And I had to
How do
download
you
it.
spell that? Dojo?
Dojo. Yep.
Mhm.
And I had to download it and register, and it took a little while for things to be posted. But once it was, there was like a Google document of uh, different topics like music, science, math, all of these subjects that have to be touched on, and reading assignments, making sure that he's reading, as well as just keeping track of his writing because at this age, he's getting the hang of writing his name, and trying to do the tracing correctly. He's really like picky about these things. So it has been a great learning experience as well for me, seeing what the teachers see when they're with him. So there's a lot of like pros to it. Um, but I guess for me, I've been trying to figure out how to balance both things. How do I execute a lesson plan while keeping up with my work for New Haven Promise?
Right.
And
And I do want to get to that second part. If you
hmm
don't mind, Georgie Liz, I'd like to understand a little better about the first part.
hmm
So the teacher, does she every day post a new lesson plan, or does she have a whole series there that you're working through day by day?
it's a mix. This week we've had a video posted every single day. So Monday there was a video. Today there's a new video. Um, and then we have that same Google document, or Word document that has the different subjects and possible things to do, like ideas.
Hmm. And then do you report back to the teacher of how far you've gone through, or is she leaving it up to the parents to monitor the progress?
The teacher has asked that we send pictures or videos of the kids, answering questions, asking questions, doing the actual experiments. So that's how she's been keeping track. Um,
And how often do you have to do that?
and every activity I try to take a picture of it. So if it's like I do an activity with him 3 times a day, then 3 times a day I'm sending her a picture because I can't send the
Mhm.
videos. I don't seem to be able to send it via the app. So I text them to her if I have a video.
Boy, how does she watch all these videos?
I have no idea how it works on her end. I know that the pictures are sent directly to message on this app, so she's able to review those submissions or those messages that have been sent to her. Um, but the videos, you can't send it, so I have to text it to her because I want her to see that active in there's nothing like that in motion experience.
Yeah.
Just the picture
So
just
now
captures
I'm
it.
trying to picture this, Georgie Liz. So preschool, if I'm not mistaken, it's got a curriculum. You're
Mhm.
learning stuff. But part of what you're learning is just hanging out with kids and being in school, right? And having how did that get done when we were all socially isolated?
Mm, I it see there I think there's a give and take here and there's some things that are not going to be accomplished because we're isolated.
Right.
So
Like not being isolated. Right.
yeah, I recently, read an article on the Boston Globe, and there was a young boy who was a great student. And part of his reason for being such a great student was that interaction with his teachers. It really enforced it. Um, and that's something that we won't get really from virtual learning.
And other kids, right?
Yeah.
So
Luckily
then
for Noel, he has my niece, and
mhm,
we're a really big family, so he's entered but I'm sure he misses his friends from school.
right. How many people live in your household?
I have Noelle, my niece, my sister, my mother, my brother, um, and a dog. So there's 6 of us. And my sister, I have multiple sisters who would bring they're still working, so they would bring their children over to my mother's house. So when I left this morning, my baby niece, the youngest one, was there. And so if Noel was there, there would have been 3 kids. I mean, there could be 4 or 5 kids in the house at a time if
That's not,
everybody.
but they have to be and who with every one of you working, who's around to watch the kids? I guess you said when your ex doesn't have the kid, you're
Mhm.
home. So you
Yeah.
sort of like the teacher for 4 kids?
So my sister works overnight at Amazon. And so during the day, in the morning, I we hash it out with my mother, and I take care of everything, and then she gets up and she's taking it from there. Um,
Oh,
for the
that's good.
Yeah, but if I'm there, I'm definitely doing the work with Noah just because I'm very involved in his academics.
But you're
Uh,
also making sure that some other kid doesn't fall out the window by looking too much at the squirrels or something, right?
Yeah, and the other kids, once they see Noelle doing the homework and the work, they want to also do some work, and so I like doing that little trickle effect with them.
Are they older or younger?
They range. So my niece is 4 years old, so her and Noelle are the same age for a couple months. And then my baby niece is she just turned 1. My nephews range from 6 all the way up to high school. So it literally there's a lot of schools in my household.
But
There's
who's getting the other kids doing their work?
um it's it's in a range. Usually by the time they go home, their parents are sitting down with them and doing the work with them. But during the
Mhm.
day, whatever the younger ones are doing, they're trying to just do with the younger ones.
So you're
Um,
kind of a schoolhouse. What street are you guys on?
We're on 14th Street. We're actually down the street from both Roberto Clemente and Hill Central. So we're like,
So you're the Portsea Street Schoolhouse.
yes.
And then, so you said in the morning, you and your mom take the first shift. Where does your mom go off to work?
My mom works for Marrakesh, and she's actually stationed in one of their homes with their folks who are disabled and need extra support. And she's been doing an amazing job with all of the clients that they have there in that house and all
I
of the.
mean, a subtext to this is how your family consists of heroes on the front line
Hmm.
because people are at risk, and I'm sure you're taking precautions. You're
Yes.
at risk going out working at a group home. Service and an
Absolutely.
Amazon warehouse. Someone got sick at Amazon. But I guess your people are, you guys are there to do the work society needs when a lot of other people are staying home.
Yeah, there's so much that, there's so much that has to be done even with the situation that's going on. Realistically speaking, you have to be able to navigate and be flexible in this kind of way. And if there's anything
Mhm.
that I learned my time at Albertus and my time at New Haven Promise is that um if you're flexible and you're able to react to unseen circumstances, you're able to catch those who normally would have fallen through the crack. So I try to just extend.
So you're able to do that. I love hearing the story, Georgie Liz, excuse me, about how your family works together to make it work multi-generationally. I think those are lucky kids to grow up in such a household where so many adults are watching them and they have other kids to learn from and people are caring and get it done, that's a
Oh, absolutely. I know there are, a lot of other folks who don't have that kind of support and who are having a hard time navigating it. The first time that I downloaded the app for Noel's school, I was like, I can't hear the audio on the video that you've uploaded. And his teacher's like, oh, you have to make sure that your phone isn't on silent or on vibrate, which is how I always have it when I'm at work. So now
Oh,
when I'm at work, I have to have my phone audio on so that I can make sure that I don't miss any new posts or so that Noel can hear the audio on there.
all right. Georgie Liz Casanova on Dateline New Haven. Harry Jones, we have a question. What and comments. What are folks saying who are listening to the show?
Anthony Rodriguez says, "Hey, I see you, Tuta." And Fallon Thomas says, "Hello."
Hello,
Um,
Fallon.
Patricia Melton says, "How is attendance being taken?"
Mm,
And
good question.
Jolyn Walker is shouting you out.
Oh, hi, Jolene.
And then Patricia Melton has a second question: How does your family stay safe?
I love those questions and those comments. Thanks everybody for weighing in. Thanks Harry for reading them. Georgie Liz Casanova, Patricia Melton from New Haven Promise said, "How is attendance being taken, and how does your family stay safe?" What an important question.
I will be completely honest. I do not know how attendance is being taken for Noel's school or Noel's teacher. I am hopeful that every day when I submit an image or the project that we're working on, that it's being looked at and that it's considered as me doing the best that I can, given that I'm not a teacher, but just doing the best I can to make sure that he's remaining educated and that he's not falling behind. I am deeply committed to Noel's education, and I want to make sure that he doesn't fall behind.
Hmm. How about how everyone's staying safe?
We oh God, I think it, I think it was last week. Somebody came in and it's like, you guys have OCD, and we are always constantly cleaning the house. Everybody has to take off their shoes. You come in the house and you go take a shower. You wash your hands. You take off your shoes. You take off your jacket. And so we're very very careful. Especially because the kids, we never know how the kids immune is going to react to it. There's a lot about, a 1 year old that's still developing. We don't know maybe their allergies and things like that. So we're being as careful as possible, trying to limit the amount of time that we go to the grocery store and just sending one person to do the trip. We are just adhering as much as possible to the news and the statements that we're receiving from the governor and the health officials. Um, and just staying on top of that is probably one of the most important things during this time. Just
Information. Information can save lives.
absolutely.
I'm glad to hear how seriously you guys are all taking it. So, New Haven Promise, you are a program assistant. What do you do every day at New Haven Promise, and how has that evolved during the COVID-19 pandemic?
So I work with our students who I do a number of things. I support Patricia, of course, and I try to make sure that everything is running smoothly inside of the office. So I do the office management as well. I work with our students who are looking for summer internships. So I do resume revisions, making sure that communication with managers are going smoothly. I work with Fallon Thomas, Alina, and Chris Brown over at Yale to make sure that students are getting opportunities that relate to their studies and that the managers are getting the best candidates. And I also work with students who just need support, all of our scholars. I try to be that point of contact, as long as it's not financials. I definitely try to be that point of contact to make sure that they're supported.
That's one of the beautiful things. I love Patricia's vision of how she's built up this organization. A person goes through it and then comes back and takes that knowledge to help other people go through it. Who better to help a student in college know how to deal with a rough patch? Someone who did it and did it so well. So how has that been affecting COVID-19? What kind of ways are you helping people with problems that didn't exist 2 months ago or 1 month ago?
Well, I think a lot of our students need ideas about how to create safe spaces in their homes to do their work. That's one of the biggest things. And just, the second thing on there is communication, just showing them the importance of communication at this point, with their families regarding their school schedule, with their professors on an individual basis. There's just, those are the two things that I'm really trying to make sure that our students are really having it under their belt, that that's something they can absolutely do. And then from there, it's a very individualized thing. Some of our students need to navigate how to do pass fail, because now the pass fail rules have changed at the colleges and universities. Some of the students are looking for connections with other promise scholars. So I always say, if you feel like you're savvy in a course and you're doing great, and you know for a fact that your professor is giving you the kudos and you feel comfortable connecting with a promise scholar, please let me know, because I know there's a promise scholar out there who's taken this exact same course at home and could use just having someone to text with or to call, ask questions to. So just that connection there virtually is so important for our current scholars at this time. And every day I'm connecting with a minimum of 6 students per day. I mean, it can be up to like 12 students per day, just to see how they're doing, how their academics are going, how I can point them to resources that they might have not received yet. And a lot of the resources are like, one student heard it and tells me, and I'll tell it to another student.
What would be a resource, example of a resource?
I think some of the students realize that, their TAs are very informed in advance by the professor so that they can expect things from the students. So they've learned that if the professor is overwhelmed with so many emails, go to the TA, try the TA. They learned that they simply could text, create a study group using video chat, and exchange information that way. Sometimes the way a student interprets something is totally different than another student. And then they're able to have just this wonderful brainstorming idea and how to tackle this course together.
That's a great idea. Jorgieliz Casanova, Dateline New Haven, 103.5 FM, live stream, newhaven.org. Patricia Melton, who runs Promise, talk to me about how a lot of folks like you are the first generation in your family to go to college, with the help of New Haven Promise, and you come back to your communities with some kind of tech savvy in dealing with bureaucracies, the broader world. Have you found that in your own life, that you're helping your family, your neighbors, skills you acquired through the college process, especially in dealing with COVID-19? You just give some great examples for the scholars about video chats for study groups or problem solving. Have there been examples in your community in the Hill?
Absolutely. I actually have a couple. So I have a current college student to my left, at a current college student at Southern to my left, and she's been comfortable enough to ask me questions, to help her navigate that. And then I have, someone who works for the district and is a meal distribution, and and so we exchange information a lot about how to get this information out to parents, how to make sure that people are taking advantage of it. I don't think there's ever a moment where someone comes up to me and I'm just like, I have no idea and I can't help you. I always be like, I might have some information. If you can give me a couple of hours or a day or two, I will direct you in the best way possible. And I haven't had a moment where it's not a good thing.
That's great. And that's how we make our community work.
Oh, absolutely. I'm deeply committed to New Haven. I think I've been here for as long as I can remember since I came from Puerto Rico. And if there's anything I can do to make sure that people are navigating something accordingly or to connect them to someone who can inform them, I'm usually all for it.
Now, except for this week, you're mostly working at home, right?
Yes.
And is that doable? Is everything remote enough?
Yes. Promise was already electronic. A lot of our communication was virtual. So we were equipped to do this. I think one of the greatest things about Promise is we were so ahead. And we were already thinking about, how we can do things virtually with our students because they're all in different campuses and we want to make sure that we're touching each one and making sure that even the applicants, the class of 2020, that we're in communication with them, and making sure that they are navigating this accordingly. They're making college decisions here. And so if a senior who's applying contacts me and say,
And how do they know if they're going to graduate? I mean, are there questions about whether people are going to graduate?
I believe those questions are going to the counselors. And the reason why I say that is because I've had counselors reach out to me. And so the counselors have been in touch with their students for the majority of that. I wish I knew how I was going for a senior who's making decisions on that aspect, but I don't. However, we've had seniors who have asked us, can you give me an estimate of what my Promise Award would be? I'm trying to make these decisions and move accordingly and stay within pace of the college deadline. So they're definitely still moving forward.
Jorgieliz, are you still hoping to become a bilingual school teacher?
Yes.
Are you at Southern studying for that?
I am not at Southern studying for that. I definitely want to be able to make sure that I'm making the right commitment in regards to my master's. So I've been looking at the different options and trying to figure out which one would be a best match for me. And COVID-19 happened, so I'm definitely trying to just juggle the hats that I have before jumping into anything.
All right. So before I let you go, we do have some more questions and comments from our listeners. Harry Drost, what else are folks saying?
Michael Twitty says, you do it all, even reaching out to adult education.
All right.
Naisha Sereno says, a great person with great teaching and leader skills, supporter, and someone who is easy to communicate with in regards to anything. So proud of her. And your brother says, so proud of you, big sis. You are a great leader. And then Brett Hoover says, what are the new challenges you are confronting at the Promise with the disruption at both K-12 and colleges?
Thank you for the comments, folks. And thanks for that question, Brett Hoover.
I think one of if there's the most common one for high school students have been, of course, the attendance, but also the opportunity to complete their community service.
Oh, right.
We do have a community service criteria, and there's always students who don't complete it in their lower grades when they're in high school. So a lot of the seniors are trying to find what they can do remotely for community service. And so I've been looking at Greater New Haven community and trying to see what remote volunteer service opportunities will be there for the students. And just the lower grade students, just the technology aspect of it is tough for a lot of parents, or a lot of parents are unfamiliar with executing a lesson plan. They might be able to read a story. They might be able to do homework with their students, but the idea of doing a science experiment with them might be a bit too much for some of them. I had a science experiment with Noel, and I had to mix oil and water. I needed food coloring, and I also needed another ingredient, syrup. And I had to ask him, what was it going to float or was it going to sink? And then I had to ask
Mm.
him what happened to the water once this, was added to it, whether it was the oil. So my niece participated in this experiment, and it was great for them. But some people might not be able to do that. My nephew, who's at another school in the district, received a math assignment, and the questions were just, even for me, the question was like, I don't exactly understand what you want from this. They were, if at one of them ask an adult to show you a checkbook so that you can see how you would write a check, and it gave him the figure in digits. How would you write $1,976.14 on a check? Ask an adult to show you a check. And there was no check to show him. There was no sample check to show him so that he can see what it will look like.
That makes me think of a kind of sad, funny joke about the SATs being so culturally biased. You ever heard those jokes? Like, the butler is waiting and you are in the limousine, and what are you supposed to say, right? And they think the kids are, what did you do in that situation?
Yeah, the answer for it could have been 5 different answers.
So what did you do for that kid? There's no checkbook.
There really was saying it out and then telling him to write it. So 700, you're gonna write 7. What number is this? And he'll say, 1,000. So you're gonna start by writing 1,000. 700, you're gonna write 700. And we just went through it in that way. And then when we got to the decimal, I had to really explain to him, you're not gonna put, a period and then write it out. You have to put the number above it, the line, out of 100, and then explain to him why it was 100. God, there was a follow-up question to every single one.
So you were the teacher.
Yeah,
You're really the teacher.
Yeah, and his mom was just listening over, and she was like, "Oh, okay,"
And then, what I'm wondering is, by the time that kid gets out of college, will anybody be writing checks?
I'm wondering the same.
Jorgieliz, you said, I want to wish you luck on finding the road program to be a bilingual teacher. The
Yes.
shorter term, I want to congratulate you and wish you luck on what a great example you're setting for the rest of our community of how to balance parental and work responsibilities.
Thank
And
you.
how it's so lovely to hear about the school on Portsea Street, to hear about the household that's working across generations. So
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
coming on
much
the
for
show.
having me. So great
It
to
was
be
such a
here.
pleasure. Thanks to everyone who listened in and gave comments. And thanks to Harry Droz, our station manager, the miracle man behind the controls. So Jorgieliz Casanova here on Dateline New Haven. We're going to take it out. The Afro-Semitic experience, performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. From the group CD, A Plea for Peace, with no fractions or decimal points, just peace. It's Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night long here at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.